Tonight's program is going to be a data-driven flamethrower. You've been warned. Last week, I lightly touched on a bit of the issues there with people being upset over Cracker Barrel changing its logo, and how white supremacist MAGA online people seized on that, not because they were actually winning anything, but because they saw an easy target that they could get ahead of. And I'm going to show you the data here tonight. As you can see on your screen here, even NBC News and other folks, they got it wrong. When we get done, you'll see exactly what I mean. And then we'll go into another part of this. When your enemy is weak, he's going to try to appear strong. And when your enemy is strong, he should be trying to appear weak. Now, Sun Tzu taught you this. Too bad MAGA has Trump to emulate, not Sun Tzu, which means screwing up is always on the agenda. Now, I want us to focus on data. This is not about your food taste. I want you to pay attention. If you're going to think strategically, then you've got to have numbers and data, not wisecracks. So pay attention. This is important. And we're going to get into the data of it here. Now, what I want to show you here is we're going to start with this guy here in particular. This is a white supremacist YouTuber, Benny Johnson. If Richard Spencer had a shorter, balding little brother, this would be the guy. And sure enough, they're trying to claim they got some wins. You have to understand that. They've been imploding and collapsing. It's been a circular firing squad. The Epstein files are dogging them. So they need to change the subject. And more importantly than changing the subject, they also need to claim they've got some wins under their belts. Well, they're failing on the economic front, failing on the political front. Let's see if we can troll our way to success. Now, I want to play this for you because this is the part that's missing. As I said last week, all these people were telling you they had a problem with Cracker Barrel changing the logo, but they didn't say what the problem was. They never said what the problem was. Now, I want to start first with this first part right here. By the way, fair use, Benny Bigot. You can go ahead and hate on it. I want you to watch right here. And from the very beginning, these are white supremacist propagandists. As you know, white supremacists lie. They have to lie because there isn't any truth to back it up. White supremacy itself is built on a lie. And of course, he starts out from the very beginning doing what they do best, deceiving and lying.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. We've already seen the single most disastrous rebrand in the history of corporate culture, I guess, since New Coke, if you're old enough to remember that. This Jaguar, men in dresses, bunch of woke eunuchs running around androgynously and obesely and creepily with no cars featured, ended up in Jaguar selling just 49 cars. 49 cars. That's not good. I don't know the first thing about selling a car. I could probably sell more cars than 49. This is a complete and total nightmare, and it's a nightmare inspired by, of course, this. Do you sell cars? Elon Musk. In one of the greatest replies in the history of all of X, you see here.
All right. I'm going to back up a little bit because I want you to see what he put on the screen. I want you to hear that. Now I want you to see what he put on the screen.
And obesely and creepily with no cars featured, ended up in Jaguar selling just 49 cars. 40.
Well, wow. And now I wanted you all to hear what he had to say. He claims there's woke, and remember, woke just means not white male. That's all it means. They never say that woke has anything to do with being a white male. Woke is white supremacist for not a white male. That's This is just sloppy code speak, but when they use that word, it just means not a white male. That's all. Well, anything they don't like, then they say, oh, that's woke too. So the code speak goes on, but here they're talking about Jaguar, something that he can't even afford. And you see on the screen there, oh man, Jaguar sold just 49 cars in April. Well, man, you all heard it. Oh, that sounds awful, doesn't it? Sounds terrible. Why, it must mean that the white supremacist right-wingers, all the Benny the bigots, why, everybody must be agreeing with them. Why, Jaguar collapsed in just a couple of months, which would just be outrageous when you think about it. 49 cars. Oh, man.
49 cars. That's not good. I don't
Now, why is he doing this?
know the first thing about selling a car. I could probably
Wait. Why did he just take a look when he starts scrolling?
49 cars.
When he starts scrolling, look what he does. Why does he do this? He's going to start scrolling. Watch what he does.
I don't know the first thing about selling a car. I could probably sell more cars than 49. This is a complete and total nightmare, and it's a nightmare inspired by, of course, this.
Why didn't he read the article, people? Now, you just saw me show him here. He just starts scrolling. I'm going to show it to you one more time because this is what white supremacist loser liars have to do.
That's not good. I don't know the first thing about selling a car. I could probably sell more cars than 49. This is a complete and total nightmare, and it's a nightmare inspired by, of course, this.
White supremacists are liars. They're liars by definition. They have to lie. Notice that he started here at the top, and watch what I do when I freeze frame it.
9 cars. That's not good. I don't.
Well, take a look at that. Jaguar's April 2025 Europe sales. What? Jaguar's April 2025 Europe sales. Sales in Europe went from last year, 1,961 units in April, to 49 units this year. Now, you saw he just scrolled by all this real fast. He shows you something on this headline, which is deceiving. The headline does not tell you that they're strictly talking about Europe, not global sales. Now, of course, he doesn't say this either. Nowhere in his white supremacist lying monologue does he make it clear. By the way, we're just talking about Europe. Just Europe. And by the way, it's still not that bad. What? Jason, are you sure? Actually, no, it's not. Because there's more information, which he would know. He can't afford these cars. He doesn't actually know the news about Jaguar. So, of course, he's lying all the way around. He has to. But when you see him go here and he just quickly scrolls down as quickly as he can, why didn't he read from the article? Shouldn't he have been gloating with what the article says? Shouldn't it have made him look even better if you're going to do that? Now, I just froze it there for the second frame. He scrolled by real quick. White supremacist, shell game artist. Don't look at the article. Just watch what I tell you. Take a look what it says, people. One of Britain's most storied luxury brands is barely selling cars. There's a reason for that. Not their rebranding. Jaguar recorded only 49 vehicle registrations across Europe in April of 2025. Compared to 1,961 cars sold during the same month the previous year. So, hey, Benny the bigot, you know, nobody has to be afraid of you because when you're a white supremacist liar, all we have to say is, hey, dude, why don't you just read everything here? Why do you gotta lie about everything? Oh, white supremacists are losers. They have to lie. He's only talking about Europe. But even then, it's still not that because he's not telling you the whole story, because telling you the whole story would be disastrous. Because he can't tell you. Well, don't worry. I'll go ahead and tell you. And all the MAGA morons out there, bring your Kleenexes. You're going to be wiping your eyes tonight because reality doesn't really suit you anymore here. August 5th, CNN. What actually went wrong at Jaguar? Jaguar, if you please. They talk about the automaker, Donald Trump trashing them for being stupid and woke, as if Donald Trump is a businessman that anybody wants to emulate. The CNN clarifies here, but the reality is different. Oh, so I'm sorry. It says Donald Trump talking about who wants to buy a Jaguar after looking at that disgraceful ad? The market cap destruction has been unprecedented with billions of dollars so foolishly lost. And he should know he's wasted billions of dollars of white generational wealth, so he should know. But the reality is different. Jaguar Land Rover has been owned by Tata Motors since 2008, when the Indian company bought it from Ford, which means Jaguar doesn't have a market cap. Damn. Oh yeah, one more thing. Yeah. There's that. Yikes. There's that part. And Tata itself is doing fine as a massive multinational conglomerate with a wide variety of operations worth about $28 billion. So Tata is sitting flush with cash. They're like the General Electric of India. For those of you who don't know, Tata is like the General Electric of India. They do everything. And they're flush with cash. Plus, Jaguar's problems are more fundamental. Although most legacy automakers have tried to manage a smooth transition to fully electric propulsion, Jaguar simply ceased making cars entirely in 2024. What? Damn. What? Hey, Benny the Bigot. White supremacist, liar, and stupid. These guys on YouTube are just hoping none of you actually know basic automotive news. Now, for me, former car dealer, I keep up with these kind of things. By the way, so I was aware. Okay, because I was in the market for one. Jaguar, they ceased production because they're just going to stop internal combustion engines altogether, and they're just changing the whole, retooling everything to go to all electric, which means no inventory. Jaguar simply stopped making cars entirely in 2024. Oh, so that explains that number where you see 1,100 cars in 2024 and only 49 in 2025, which Benny wanted to make sure he zoomed by as quickly as he could. Yeah, and don't worry, Pierce Morgan and nobody else, they're not going to stop him and say, Benny, Jaguar stopped producing cars in 2024 because they're just going to retool for all electric. They're not losing auto sales. They stopped making cars because Tata can afford to shut down Jaguar's production, and they're so rich at Tata, they can just afford to shut down production altogether and just switch over to electric. That's how good things are going for them. Don't worry. Don't expect Fox Noise or Pierce Moron or any of these other folks to say any of this. First of all, they don't know. Second of all, don't expect them to say it. We are the black media. And I'm bringing you the information analysis you've seen and received absolutely nowhere else. So he doesn't mind looking like a jackass. And don't expect his comment section to call him out for it either. But by the way, yeah, there's a reason why guys like him and Ben Shapiro don't want to go places where they could be subject to somebody who actually knows their stuff here, because making him look like the moron he is doesn't go very well. So Jaguar stopped making cars entirely in 2024, pulling all of its products off the market as it tries to reinvent itself as an electric vehicle maker. By the way, not just that, Jaguar wants to go quote unquote upscale. So their CEO openly said that they want to compete with Bentley. So that's what Jaguar wants to do. They want to compete directly with Bentley. We'll see if it works. But that's enough to establish a narrative in the minds of many. Headlines swirled last month that Jaguar's sales across Europe were down 97.5% year over year in April, citing data from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. That makes sense given Jaguar stopped manufacturing cars. But the news was enough to draw the wrath of Trump and some conservative MAGA morons who nobody corrected when they went out there. Now, CNN said it. I don't know why they didn't invite Benny the bigot idiot on there so they could go ahead and clown him. But by the way, yeah, folks. So here he is talking about Cracker Barrel, trying to tell you he's bringing up Jaguar as if we have a string of wins. Dude, you didn't win anything. What are you talking? They shut down their plant. See, you're going broke. You're woke. You're going broke. No, we closed the plant ourselves. We're retooling. You're going out of business. We're retooling for all electric. Woke. You're going broke. Woke. Let me make my video. See, we're winning. And that's what they're doing. In the chat room, no, that's not the truth of it, by the way. Talk about things you know. Talk about things you actually understand. Clearly you don't. That's okay. Sit back and learn. Jaguar is financially perfectly fine to the point that, as I said, they want to compete with Bentley. They don't want to compete with Cadillac. They want to compete with Bentley. We'll see. So in any case, yeah, he comes out lying out of the gate. He comes out lying, and don't worry, it won't get any better from here.
You know, the first thing about selling a car, I could probably all of X, you see here, 7.3 million views.
Elon Musk talking about, do you sell cars? Hey, Elon, better you need to ask yourself the same question. Taking a look at your car sales in the last 7 months, you might want to be a little bit more concerned about your own car company than Tata's division of Jaguar. Just a little bit of advice. Based on your last couple of quarters, and you better keep your eyes on your own house. Jaguar's going to be all right. You better watch yours, buddy.
Do you sell cars? Yeah. But I guess we spoke too soon. Because, ladies and gentlemen, Cracker Barrel has done it. Cracker Barrel has rebranded. And I hate it. Thanks. I hate it.
Y'all, take a look at him. When's the last time he went to a Cracker Barrel? When's the last time he's been in one? If I were on a panel with him, I'd be able to decapitate him in 5 seconds. When's the last time you've been to one? He hasn't set foot in it. But yet he's talking about some place he never shops, hasn't been to, doesn't eat at, and yet he's curiously concerned about that. Jaguar, a car that he doesn't drive, he can't afford. He can't afford one. He doesn't own one. He can't drive one. And yet he's got an opinion about it. You're not a Jaguar customer. Why do you care? You're not a Cracker Barrel customer. Why do you care? And yet he's got something to say. And this is the reason why I tell you all there's a real reason that the MAGA racists are going at these things. And we'll unfold that tonight.
Barrel rebranded from their classic, totally iconic country store logo, where you probably have countless memories with your grandparents. I know I certainly do.
Oh, you have countless memories with your grandparents, not with other millennials, not with Gen X, with your grandparents. As I said, he doesn't go there. His grandparents took him. He doesn't go. If he did, he would have just said, I go all the time. He talked about, I can remember with your grandparents. He doesn't even remember if he actually went. So white supremacists are pathological, degenerate liars. They think it's propaganda. No, you're just a liar.
And got rid of the cracker and the barrel.
Oh, so that's what he considers broke. I mean, that's what he considers woke.
And got rid of the cracker and the barrel.
You got to understand, white supremacists are just obsessed by definition. So he's claiming that simplifying the logo and removing Uncle Herschel and the barrel, removing Uncle Herschel and the barrel, that's going woke. Folks, when KFC removed Harlan Sanders from their logo, for the most part, when KFC removed Harlan Sanders from the logo, these guys would have been screaming that's woke if they did that today. They would have sworn up and down that's woke. Erasing the Confederacy. That's woke. When Wendy's redid their logo, they would have sworn that's woke. This is how pathologically dishonest these individuals are, but they need to seize on something. So for those of you who are wondering what the issue was last week, oh, they were a little too cowardly at first, but then they let some of their crash dummies come out and say the problem is, well, they removed the white guy from the front of it. Now, let me make things a little clearer for all of you out there. Go take a look at any of the logos for other restaurants you can think of. Longhorn, Texas Steakhouse, Chipotle, Taco Bell, KFC. Go down the list. Those logos are all long. They're not tall and they're not circular. Their logos are practically all long. Pretty much everybody is rebranded to have a logo that's lengthwise. That's what the advertising community has done over the course of the last 20 years. They've also simplified the logos. Apple, remember Apple had a multicolored logo. Looked like a rainbow flag. What? And remember, when Steve Jobs came back and stuff, they redid things and now it's just a gray apple. Simplifying the logo like they simplified the iPhone and made it as simple as they could. Same thing for Microsoft Windows. Windows used to be a multicolored logo with trails of colored squares behind it. Now it's just take a look on your computer in the lower right-hand corner, the start button. Now it's just a black and gray window. What part of woke is that? It's not. And the reason that they did that is because that is how Silicon Valley and tech companies, that is the design aesthetic that is common in their industry now. Just like in restaurants and food service, having a long logo is a horizontal logo is standard aesthetic in the food industry now, in the restaurant industry. As you can see, Uncle Herschel and the Cracker Barrel thing with all these graphics, nobody else does this. Well, Jason, why is this something that they want to do? Because, for example, if you're going to have an app on your phone, remember we have that notification bar at the top of our phones that has a little miniature logo. Or at least ideally you would want it to be a little miniature logo that would fit at the top of your screen on the notification bar on your phone. For those of you who have Uber or Uber Eats or McDonald's, you name it, there's a little, that's so they can fit the little logo up there, and it needs to be as simple as it can be. And you can see, whether you like it or not, the new logo obviously looks cell phone ready, smartphone ready. Yeah, that's what they were thinking. Smartphone, tablet, computer, it's ready for that. Also, yes, when it's time to go send it to the sign companies to make their new signs, it's going to be a lot easier to do that. Also, for the freeway. When you drive by the freeway and you see signs for all these restaurants, they're real simple. Cracker Barrel's the most elaborate one with these more expensive graphics on it. This was going to be simplifying everything. They're the last one that was holding out and wasn't doing it. So this is perfectly in line with what all of their industry peers have already done. And yet these other folks want to convince you that there's some nefarious intent to it. But he had to break down and say what it really is. Fragility and insecurity. We're here to enforce white imagery to the point that you're telling them that they can't do what KFC did. KFC can simplify their logo and keep it pushing, but Cracker Barrel can't simplify theirs. You go over to Fox Noise. Now listen to this one.
Part of a large DEI push at Cracker Barrel corporate in recent years. Cracker Barrel was so devoted to this DEI push before most even knew DEI was a thing that they were given an award by the Out and Equal Advocates for having 2018's top LGBT.
Oh, so Cracker Barrel was into woke before anybody knew it was a thing. They were into DEI before anybody knew it was a thing. Maybe it wasn't DEI. Maybe that was just what they were trying to do. And they have reasons for it, folks. They have reasons for it.
TERG group. Yes, Cracker Barrel has a special group for LGBTQ plus employees. Again, back in my day, a club about the sex you like to have at work would have been called sexual harassment, but now it's apparently empowering and virtuous.
No, it's called Epstein Island. You all need to go deal with your buddy Trump. It's called Epstein Island.
If you make a club about it. If you're not familiar with the HRC and you thought of Hillary Clinton, somehow the actual HRC is worse than Hillary. In fact,
okay,
in
we're
the
going to
most
skip
Orwellian
forward
twist,
here a
their full
little
name
bit
is the Human Rights
because
Foundation. He's also similarly very excited about their LGBT rocking chairs. And it's important to note all of this because these types of employees play a critical role in turning companies away from the values of their customers and moving the companies toward wokeness. That guy I mentioned, he is the archetype activist employee that fueled the rise of DEI in corporate America. When he was at the company, the HRC and Cracker Barrel were so tight that Cracker Barrel even brought in an HRC representative named Beck Bailey to do a training on transgenderism and pronouns. I'm sure this was extremely helpful with the rush of customers they have that want to be called by they, them, or zim-zer pronouns.
Okay, where were you back when they did this? If you were so concerned about it, Mr. Millennial, where were you when they did this? If this really mattered to you.
Because that's apparently the clientele they're after today. So where's this virtue signaling coming from? I have a few ideas, but first to my mind is the fact that they have a board member by the name of Gilbert Davila. He was brought onto the board in 2020 at the height of DEI's rise. So what
was he trying to say that with an accent or something? Davila. Okay, dude, no, it ain't working.
Board in 2020 at the height of DEI's rise. So what qualifies?
The height of DEI's rise. So remember, the white supremacists are still smarting over George Floyd and the uprisings. They are angry. I told y'all, we have permanently scarred them for life. So give yourselves a round of applause. We have scarred them for life. They took a L in front of the world and they will never recover from it. They are smarting and angry about it to this very day. They're traumatized. They keep coming back to it and referencing it because they're traumatized. And they're looking for some way to even the score, and ain't no evening it. You lost. So that's why they keep referencing it, because they're very, very angry about it.
Board member by the name of Gilbert Davila. He was brought onto the board in 2020 at the height of DEI's rise. So what qualified him for this board seat? Well, you see, he's owned a DEI consulting and strategy firm for 15 years that focuses on pushing DEI and DEI advertising. People like him are behind the woke advertising push that we've seen in recent years. And he was also one of the people responsible for DEI at Disney, where he served as a vice president to oversee, quote, global diversity. Now, I have to ask again, does this feel like a man, a board, or a company that actually understands their customers, who, by the way, hold the future of this company in their hands?
Now, folks, you see, he's gone on and on and on and on about trans this and trans that. He's very, very concerned about LGBT. Apparently, that's the axe he has to grind, right? That's the issue he has with Cracker Barrel changing their logo, right? Keep listening.
Obviously not. But that's the point. Companies stopped listening to and stopped caring about their customers and what they wanted. Activists got bold and then bolder. They decided they would shove their values down your throat and you would like it or you would choke on them. But they made a critical mistake. You see, a movement born out of hatred for America could never understand the resilience Americans have. It could never understand the contempt we'd build for a political class that tried to steal our country and our culture from us. They could never understand that people would rise to restore what had been stolen from us. It's very, very important to understand that the Cracker Barrel story is not about a logo. It's not at all about a logo. It is about a country, it is about our heritage, and it is about our culture. It's about a power structure built.
Oh, it's not about a logo. Tell us more.
From us. It's very, very important to understand that the Cracker Barrel story is not about a logo. It's not at all about a logo. It is about a country, it is about our heritage, and it is about our culture. It's about a power structure built to tell us that we are somehow backwards, embarrassing, or bigoted. That whiteness or American pride is something to be ashamed of or hidden at all costs.
What? Oh, there it is. Yeah, they were too scared to come out and say it. You got on Fox News, folks were just saying it was woke and there was a problem. But none of them would say what the problem was. So Fox just posted this video from this guy, but they didn't let any of their news people sit up here and say this. They didn't let them say any of this. Oh, their issue is, well, everywhere you can shove a white face in front of people, you need to do that. You need to do that. So this is a race war for them. Cracker Barrel, the only reason they mentioned it, he just said he doesn't care about Cracker Barrel. He just told you it's not about Cracker Barrel. It's not about their logo. Then, dude, why you care about it? Cracker Barrel is something that most of you would recognize. So they chose something that most people would recognize and they swung for the fences and hoped something would work. Simply because most people would recognize it. If this were something that most folk didn't recognize, they wouldn't have said a thing. But they figured, okay, this is something folks recognize even if they don't go there. And that is the real point. To all the people watching and listening here right now, that's the real point. I could start in many places here, and here we come with the data. So if you want to slam dunk all of your white supremacist MAGA morons and whatnot about this story, I've already crushed them, but let's just go ahead and bury them and burn the ashes. I want to show you, first of all, from The Guardian. And in The Guardian, show there what the Cracker Barrel backlash shows about MAGA's influence on U.S. culture. You go down in the story here, and there's one part you want to get to, way down here. Cracker Barrel, which was founded in 1969, were we doing something in 1969? Has a documented history of sexual and racial discrimination accusations. Is there anybody shocked or surprised? Is anybody surprised? In 1991, it adopted a policy that employees who failed, quote, to demonstrate normal heterosexual values would be terminated, which led to the firing of 11 LGBTQ plus employees and sparked protests. In 2004, the company paid $8.7 million to settle claims from more than 40 plaintiffs in 16 states alleging, wait for it, racist treatment of black customers and discrimination against black employees. So what do you know? White supremacists travel in the same circles. They're trying to normalize blatant open white supremacy, not covert. They're trying to normalize Jim Crow white supremacy. So they've sent out clowns like this to do that. But people, it goes even further. It goes even further. Because here's the part that Benny the Bigot and whoever this clown here is, Robbie Starbuck, okay, either that's his porn name or he really loves the coffee and couldn't think of anything better. There's a lot of things you could see. There's a lot of things I could show you, but I'm just going to show you the one. This is Cracker Barrel's stock since the 1990s. This is Cracker Barrel's stock graph since the 1990s. As you can see, you heard what they were saying in the story there before. Back in 1991, their stock was $8. So they were cheap enough and small enough they felt we can practice open white supremacy. 2004, that's when they got to pay out $8 million for discriminating against black folk. Their stock price was 32, 36, depending on what year you're going in there, in the 30s. You figure that they said we got to clear out the white supremacists in the boardroom and get this thing straightened out. You figure it takes 3 or 4 years to recover from that. 2010, and take a look at what the graph does. Now, for the previous couple of decades, it was trading almost flat. Then you get to 2010, and it takes off in one calendar decade. Takes off. Without Benny the Bigot or any of his white supremacist gal pals being a part of it. So the stock went way up, $151. That's a long damn way from $37. $140, $150. That was a lot. Till you get to 2020. And then you see what happens here after 2020. And here's the part the white supremacist YouTubers did not go over with you all because they're liars and because they don't know. I could show you many things, but I will show you just this one. This is a graph from Cracker Barrel's 2023 investor presentation. This is what they showed their investors in 2023. They showed this to their investors because things are not going well. Over a quarter of Cracker Barrel's customers are 65 years of age or older. When you back that up to who's over the age of 55, just add 1 decade, that's 17 more percent. What, 42%? Almost half of their customers are 55 years old or older. Almost half. And when you add folks in their 40s, 62%. 62% of their customers are over the age of 45. Past middle age. How about your millennials or younger? 14%, 12%, 11%. And that's it. That's it. Two-thirds of their consumers, almost 2/3 of their consumers are over the age of 45. A quarter of them are 65 to dead. This was their investor presentation trying to get the attention of their investors to let them know, hey, we have to change. Yeah, we have an elderly customer base. That's great. But where's the new customers going to come from? Because the people in the 30s and 20s, they're calling Uber Eats. They're calling Chipotle. They're going to Red Lobster. But they're not coming here. Jason, where's your facts about that? Where's your facts? You don't know what's going on. It is woke. You understand? It's woke. Where's your proof? You ain't got no proof. All you brought was the investor presentation. This is from the company themselves. They say these are their numbers. It's just woke. You just don't accept reality. You don't want to accept that. Okay. Let's do this. Here is the stock graph for Chipotle over the last 5 years. This is their 5-year stock graph from Chipotle. The red line shows you the trend from 5 years ago to today. Oh, white supremacists, sit your ass back down. No, you gonna take this ass whooping. We're gonna take a look at Cracker Barrel's direct competitors. We're gonna take a look at that. Don't get upset, Billy Bob. Don't get upset, Billy Bob. You're gonna get the business. Let's take a look at McDonald's. Damn, Jason. This is their 5-year graph. You can see the red line. It shows you where their stock price has gone over the course of the last 5 years. You see the line. Oh, man. That's McDonald's. Texas Roadhouse. Jason, did you really check Texas? Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, yes. This is their 5-year graph. You see that? You can see what direction that's gone in. Texas Roadhouse. Wingstop. You see that graph? Oh, man. I did not bring receipts. I brought invoices. I did not bring receipts. I brought invoices. I also had one more. Let me check there. As a matter of fact, yeah, I should have had that in there. If you'll all indulge me for just a moment here. I want to get one more up here on the screen. I was in such a hurry earlier to do this that I didn't quite do what I should have here. I was in such a hurry to do this earlier. So give me just one moment, if you'll indulge me for just a second here. If you'll indulge me for just a moment. All right. Let's get with the business. Let me go ahead and throw one more at you here. One more again. Let me throw one more again. I had named a few of them here before, but there was one in particular. I already had gotten this graph up here, but I just want to make sure I got all that together. Darden Restaurants. Okay, for those of you who are familiar with the Darden restaurant chain. So now we're talking about, Red Lobster and whatnot. That's Darden over the last 5 years. That's Darden. This is Cracker Barrel. Damn! This is Darden. You can see their other competitors. Take a look at all their other competitors. Take a look at where their trend line has gone over the last 5 years. Across the board. Take a look at all of them. Now take a look at Cracker Barrel. Take a look at Cracker Barrel's stock over the last 5 years. Is this a company in need of change? If the current demographics aren't a problem, if this on your screen is okay, and this is what they need to stick by because the octogenarian president, senile and crazy out of his damn mind, we need to listen to him. Okay, well, so this is a successful company? So this is a successful company. Everybody else in the business, all these other chains, all these other people, all their other competition, take a look at where their graphs are going. And then you take a look at Cracker Barrel and you come explain to me how this happened. Of course they want to change things. Of course they want to change the way the place looks. Obviously, it's not attracting customers that the customers they need. And here you got a bunch of right-wingers sitting up here seizing on this. Individuals so shameless and cowardly, they're not even Cracker Barrel customers. And they're demanding that Cracker Barrel be used as a political football, even if it kills the company. Benny the bigot doesn't care. He doesn't eat there to begin with. Mr. Buck Rogers, Star Buck Rogers, he doesn't give a damn. He doesn't eat there either. He just told you he doesn't even care about Cracker Barrel. It doesn't matter to him about Cracker Barrel. It's about how they think they can weaponize it. Can we weaponize Cracker Barrel? Okay, but you're going to kill it. Who cares? We don't eat there anyway. The real point is to own the niggers. And to win one of these tertiary battles in their white supremacist racial holy war. I did not bring you receipts. I brought you invoices. Do not tell you what you paid. I tell you what you owe. I did not bring you idle speculation. I brought you the data. Completely confirmed, and any of you can go on any stock ticker, Robinhood, whatever, and you can see the exact same information. People under the age of 40 ain't going to Cracker Barrel. They're going to Chipotle. They're going to Red Lobster. Hell, they're going to McDonald's. But they're not going to Cracker Barrel. And investing in the elderly is not a growth strategy. That's not a long-term growth strategy. People, let me put these demographics into stark contrast for you here. I need to put this into contrast for you so that you understand how bad this really is. In the United States of America, average life expectancy is 78. In the United States of America, the average life expectancy is 78. 78. That means that 25% of base is going to be diminishing year after year. That's the problem. It doesn't matter whether you like Cracker Barrel or whether you despise them. This is mathematics. 25% of their customer base has about a decade to live. That's the issue. 25% of their customers at Cracker Barrel are within the last decade of their lives. Who's going to make up? That means that this company has 10 more years before their profits get cut by at least a quarter, probably more. They apparently have, 600 stores? You'll be cutting that back to 480. With a bunch of people eating delivery, going through Uber Eats, and going to other places that don't feel like an old country store. And I'm not here to argue about the aesthetic of it. I was born and raised in a southern town, a mid-sized southern city, not a large one. I have respect for that. I have respect for wood structures. I have respect for the old country store. I have respect for that. Millennials don't. As evidenced by the graph, millennials don't. Cracker Barrel is on its way to being the next Sears, the next Kmart, the next J.C. Penney, the next Montgomery Ward, with a bunch of people who remember it from its glory days in the 1970s and 80s. But they're failing to keep up with the new generation. You might have been state of the art back in 1969. You're just old today. And that doesn't mean you have to change everything, but you need to change something, because obviously the younger demographic is letting you know your days are numbered. You have a limited number of elderly customers, and when you run out of those in the next decade, who's going to take their place? Nobody. Because they're all eating at Panera Bread and Fresh Greens. They're going other places. But they're not coming to Cracker Barrel. And the killing part about it is the white supremacists who talked them into this stuff here, they're not there now. They don't care. They don't care if the place goes out of business. They don't give a damn what happens. Nor are they going to put it in this context of the last 5 years. They're not going to say any of that. Before they try to say they went woke, that graph was doing just fine between 2010 and 2020. During the years you said they was getting most wokey woke, those were their boom years. But the customer base, those people who are 65 now, they were 60 or 55 back then. They were 60 or even 55 years old back then. And it's not like there are more of them. In their desperate attempt to convince somebody that they actually had some wins under their belts, they contrived a beef with Cracker Barrel. And the other reason for it is because these folks are smart about these things. These folks are smart about these things. They know what they're doing, because those are the kind of things they go after. You see, Cracker Barrel doesn't really have a lot of stock. They really don't have a lot of outstanding stock. They really don't. That's why they went after them. They went after a stock that, if you leave it alone, it's just going to sit flat. But for those of you who don't remember GameStop and the short squeeze of that, if you get a stock that doesn't really have a lot out there, it's not like they have hundreds of millions of stocks out there. It's not like they're one of those companies. They don't have hundreds of millions of stock. So any small movement, any small organized movement will affect them much more than it would a company like Coca-Cola or General Electric. So they went after a company that has a smaller stock volume, a smaller float, if you will. They went after them because they knew they could have more of an effect on them. They knew they could have more of an effect on them. They didn't go after somebody with hundreds of millions of them. So just understand, it was targeted and coordinated, and they hoped that they could do enough to get the stock to move. It went down 10%, and then they claimed, yay, see, we told ya, go woke, go bonkers. Well, folks, I got more bad news to lay on them. Wish I could get this thing down a little bit lower than that, but August 20th was when everybody started talking about this story. That's when the story broke, was on August 20th. If you'll notice, they were doing better on August 14th, the week before. August 14th, they were trading at $62. August 20th, the day that the story broke about their logo change, they were at $59. The next day, they were at 54. People, they went from 59 to 54. Okay. All right. But by the same token, when you take a look from July 31st to August 5th, from $62 to $56, the stock was down for 48 hours. It was only down for, well, over the weekend, but it was only basically down for 2 trading days. 2 trading days, and then immediately recovers. $59 the day the story broke. 2 trading days later, 57. And then the next day, 62. Now, they'll tell you it's because they backed off the logo and whatnot. But my point is they were already recovering before they did that. It was already recovering. With a bunch of folks out there who are smart, they know buy it at 54. It's guaranteed to go back up very soon. And it did. And then when it got to 62, the folks who bought down here at 54 sold and the stock goes down again. Anybody who's ever played the stock market understands what these graphs mean. These are day traders. This is the graph of a stock that's being hit by day traders. Buy it at 56, wait for it to get to 62. So wait for it to go up $5, sell. This was like a short squeeze. This was just like a short squeeze. They talked the stock down to get it to go down. Oh, they bought a bunch of stock here and then immediately goes back up. Oh, now we sold and down it goes. So this roller coaster here, this is clear day trading. And these clowns would have you believe that they're the reason for it. And I'm showing you that the stock was already roller coastering way before they came along. What they did was exacerbate the situation, and then they claimed that they're the reason for it. Now, the truth of the matter is, the only thing that got them to change was that Trump started tweeting about it. That was the only thing that made a difference, not these jackasses. So he sent out the ground troops, and then when he said something, then the company moved. Because now you got a spotlight on them. But it wasn't because the stock is doing so great. Everything was fine before we targeted Cracker Barrel, and then their stock went down. The stock's been roller coastering the whole damn time. And when you look over the last 5 years, okay, are they going to give themselves credit for this too? Remember, he was saying that the height of DEI back in 2021, the height of DEI was the height of their stock price too. Explain that. So white supremacists lie. They are liars across the board. It's what they do. But Jason, why are you revisiting this again? Why are we getting off into this again? It's because I want you all to understand that this gives you a preview of what they think is going to be their tactic going forward. Now that they've tipped their hand, what they're going to try to do now is look for anything that has a personality. They're going to try, now they're going to have to be careful about it because they don't want to sit up here and choose something and then nothing happened and folks say, y'all ain't got no influence. So they're going to try to be strategic, but they're going to try to go after things that have a personality. In this case, they're claiming that folks we're going to protect the person in the logo, Uncle Herschel. Because personalities connect with people. So they're going to try to do that. They're going to try to see if they can find things that have any sort of social or historical significance, but it's got to be something specifically white. So you're not going to have a lot of those. The problem is this is a weapon that doesn't get to be used very much. You're not going to have a lot of those, but it does tell you that going forward, they're going to try to do that. And what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to pressure everybody and bludgeon everyone and bully everyone into saying, what we need are more white guys. That the only thing you're doing wrong is there's not enough white guys. If you would put more white guys into it, then everything would be fine. And then they'll tell you that that's traditional American values. Never mind that the white population's at 60% or less. Don't worry about that. They're now going to try to tell you that the only reason that there's a problem is because you didn't put any white guys in it. That's what they're going to say. I'm also doing this because I want this to be a reminder to a certain group of other people out there. There are other people out there who did not get the point. There are other folks out there who did not get the point, and I've warned them about this. Some of them are jumping in on this thing, and I've warned them about this. They can go ahead and try for this if they want to. My point to you is that this does not end well, because it cannot end well. You see, when a young boy named Trayvon Martin got gunned down, and white supremacists and some of their enablers and would-be helpers and sympathizers were cheering about that, I said over a decade ago that white women understand something. You have just ushered in the era of targeting you, because you have forgotten that before they ever set foot in Africa, before they ever set foot in indigenous America, the first slaves of white European men were their own females, not their own wives. The first property, the first human chattel of white men were their own females. And it's been a couple centuries, and you've told yourself that, oh, you're on their side about things. And I said, you know what? Keep that energy. Keep that energy, because this goes bad. This goes bad, and it will continue to. Jason, what are you talking about? Trump got in office, and as soon as the planes collided over the Potomac, that military helicopter and that civilian jet at Reagan Airport, and who did they start talking about? The white women. They started talking about the white women. They were going at them. We already did that program earlier this year. The strategy these people are trying to invoke is simple. On social media, I've talked to you about this before. They're trying to enact a simple strategy to get you to think like black people, but to act and respond emotionally and politically like white supremacists. So they bring you these issues and they do their best to suppress the racial element, although eventually they have to say exactly what it is. Now you start telling yourself, well, you know, I mean, really, we is oppressing white men. White men why are they trying to erase all the white men's? Next thing you know, you start responding like that. Next thing you know, you start thinking that way. They just do it over and over and over again. YouTube keeps feeding these streams to you over and over and over again. Next thing you know, you find yourself responding to these situations like the white supremacist male does. Well, speaking of white supremacist males, Donald Trump Jr. Damn! Well, they didn't like this. He's like, WTF is wrong with Cracker Barrel. You need to be worried about what's wrong with your dad. Just no offense, but you need to be, y'all got way bigger issues than Cracker Barrel. Your father's sitting there obviously in poor health and swollen ankles, swollen knees, discoloration on his hands and elbows and his face, and you worrying about a damn Cracker Barrel. Okay. So he reposted this tweet from Woke War Room. And this is the tweet. Cracker Barrel's new logo isn't an accident. It's CEO Julie Fells Massino's project. She scrapped a beloved American aesthetic, an American aesthetic. Now notice, he's not like Benny the Bigot. He wouldn't say she removed the white man. He was smart enough not to say that. He was smart enough not to say it. She scrapped the beloved American aesthetic and replaced it with a sterile, soulless branding. But he couldn't stay away from it long. White supremacist dog whistles. Massino kept a DEI regime that promises to identify, recruit, and advance hires by race. He doesn't show you proof of that, but okay. She should resign and be replaced with leadership that will restore Cracker Barrel's tradition. Cracker Barrel's tradition didn't go anywhere. However, my real point here, and the real aim of the white supremacists, is what you're about to see next. You see this post, retweeted by none other than President's son over here. And then you see this, when you scroll down, it's always the glasses. Somebody here is trying to be funny. And you go down, somebody here, damn, you folks get triggered over anything. Yeah. And then, oh, look at this. And deliver us from liberal white women. Well, Jake, that don't mean nothing. That don't mean a damn thing. You just pointing what you trying to prove with that? That don't mean nothing. I listen to the white supremacists over here on YouTube. That don't mean a damn thing right there. That doesn't prove anything. Okay. Oh, take a look at that. The biggest threat to Western civilization, Russia, China, Islam, white liberal women with liberal arts degrees. Oh, man. Oh, boy. All right. Oh, here we go again. Oh, there's no chicks in here. Okay. All righty. Okay. White women. Hey, white women, I just thought you should know. Yeah, they're not saying very much about us on this page that Donald Trump Jr. retweeted. They're not really saying a whole lot about us. I'm taking a look at the data. And they're not saying very much about us, but they sure are putting the boots to you, their own women. I'm not racist. I hate white liberals more than anybody. Okay, we already covered this, white liberal females. All right. I'll just let you keep that there for Breckenridge. Okay. Wow. All right. And these two jugheads. So, yeah, buddy. It's always these same looking women who embarrass the rest of us sane women. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right. Another insane white liberal female lunatic. Okay. Y'all thought it was just one post, huh? You thought it was just one tweet. Oh, you didn't think Jason had all the receipts. Damn, a receipt that got a box full of invoices still ain't been paid. Get that money ready. Okay. Oh boy, more white females here. Now, this woman here in particular showed what I said. And of course, the folks didn't like it. You see how many comments down there, they didn't like it. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you. Not a she. Okay. All right, the white supremacists are giving them females the work. All right, they're letting them know, okay, y'all hoes been on the line too damn long. We're going to go ahead and give it to you. You've been on the line too damn long. Look, I'm way down here now. Y'all got me scrolling all the way back up to the top again. I'm way down here. Yes, indeed. They see this as, like this guy said here, this isn't about Cracker Barrel. This is about creating an opportunity. It's about creating an opportunity. Cracker Barrel is just something they can weaponize and create an opportunity with it. And what's the opportunity for? Hopefully to use it as a bludgeon for some of the folks they really want to go after. And so you are supposed to psychologically accept it that if it's a white male, you need to start bowing. And then you've got white females, as you saw, who are responding like the white men. They're responding like them, as long as they think there's a little cover to be had. But the bottom line is that math rules everything. Math rules everything, and there's only so much you're going to be able to do here. There's only going to be so much you're able to do, and then things are going to go south. And that's right about where they are right now. I brought you all the math of this so you can see what the real reason was they did this. It's not because they have facts. The Jaguar thing that he started with showed you, oh, this is not about facts. He doesn't have any. I destroyed him on that. I've destroyed him on Cracker Barrel. But it does let you know that this group is organized. Now, that's the real thing we need to keep in mind here. This little group is organized. This little group is working together. This little group is in touch with each other. So that's what they've been doing. And they got their little online clique here and whatnot, and they're all talking to each other, and they all said we're going to move at the same time. We already know that Laura Loomer has a number to the White House. So yeah, they're all moving at the same time. They're orchestrated and organized with each other. Yeah. And their job is to start this stuff trending and then see if they can keep it going. Oh. So if they can kickstart it trending, maybe we can make this a thing. If we can get it kickstarted trending. All right. You think they're done? Hell no. Oh, they're not done. They're not done at all. What they think they're going to do is parlay this into something else. They think they're going to use this and parlay it into something else, but here's the problem. The problem is they can't move covertly anymore because it's a nice program. The cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows what it is. I've given you all the intellectual firepower. I've shown you the data. I've given you the graphs. It's on my Twitter. You all can look these things up yourselves, and now you know exactly what it is. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and post the link to the top of the Zoom here so you can be given an opportunity to give us a call. If you have been instructed by my mods to call in, that is not a request, that is an order. And this is an opportunity for us to make sure that we compare notes to understand that I can see them trying something like this with Confederate statues. I can see them trying things like this with outright white supremacist symbols. They're trying to see how far they can push it and how much ground they can make or make up for. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to see how much ground they can make up for. And it's our job to make sure that we keep everybody abreast of what they're doing so that when you see these things, you ask more questions. Do not expect your old dead black media to go into the numbers. They can't. And certainly don't expect the white supremacist corporate media to investigate this or dissect it either. They very easily could have bought Benny the Bigot on, blown up the spot, made an ass of him, but they didn't do that. Please understand that we are the target of the white media. That includes CNN. We are their target. So there's folks on both sides of the aisle have a vested interest in backing these people because they want the cultural dynamic to change too. They want it to change too. And they think they see this as an opportunity to make that happen. Well, now it's out there. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the link to the Zoom is pinned at the top of the chat room there. So to anyone who has a question, comment, concern about it, you're more than welcome to go ahead and give us a call. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Nancy King. Thank you very much for your support, Nancy. We appreciate that. Tomoga Mays, AC, Lorenzo, Rashad, Willis Addison, DeLay Bolden, thank you very much for your support here as well. We appreciate that. Shout out here to Sandra also. Hadn't had a chance to say that either, but shout out there to Sandra, Wesley. Thank you very much for your support. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, we'll probably take some of your calls and more. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the gains. Mr. B the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And I want to use tonight's program to go into a deep dive about why the white supremacists and MAGA racists targeted Cracker Barrel. They are hoping to give the impression that the cultural dynamic is swinging in their favor. They're hoping to give the impression that if you offend white supremacist male sensibilities, if you offend white supremacy in any way, that they've got the ability to bring your business down. Because understand something, for the better part of the last decade, here, they were getting drugged For the better part of the last decade, white supremacists were losing their jobs ever since George Zimmerman. They were losing their jobs. They were losing their pensions. They were losing their houses. If you were practicing white supremacy, the wave was against you. The tidal wave was against you. You'll all remember when George Zimmerman was on trial, I said George Zimmerman was not going to be convicted. When Amber Geiger was on trial, I told everybody, oh, she going to jail. She's doing time. And a bunch of folks doubted it. You won't find them today. But by the way, yeah, there were people who were doubting me when I said Amber Geiger's going to jail. Oh, she's going to get convicted. And sure enough, there she was. When those moments happen, you see, that was all the culmination. When we get to George Floyd, that's the culmination of it, that the tide had turned and that you could no longer practice blatant Jim Crow white supremacy the way that they had hoped they would. That was the issue. And they've been looking for something that marks the ability to turn the clock backwards so that they can get back to it, so that they can re-normalize Jim Crow style white supremacy. When I say Jim Crow, that's calling you nigger, which is why they defended Shiloh Hendricks. When you take a look at all the elements of South Africa, apartheid in South Africa, you see that those are all the elements that they're attempting to normalize and enforce here. So if you're a black person who fights back against white supremacist violence, white supremacist assault, they want to try to make it an environment that makes you hostile, that makes it hostile toward you, so that you'll be too scared to do anything. You'll be too worried to do anything. Next thing you know, you're allowing them to do what they're doing. That's the point. They're here to try to make it where you think that, oh, everybody's behind the white supremacists now. And that is not what it is. Remember what I've told you all. See, white supremacy is at its strongest when you don't have to identify it. It is a signal and a symbol of weakness when you have to say, we are here for white supremacist males. You're putting up a beacon. You're saying it out loud. You make it where everybody's got a clear target. Everybody can put their laser sights on it and send the cruise missile straight to you. They don't have to wonder anymore. It's right there now. Now it's right there. You see, you were doing much better when you could fly below the radar. When you could use the code terms, it gave you plausible deniability. See, that's when you were at your strongest. When you have to come out and say, nigger, now you're making it black and white. Your emotional immaturity might make you want to do that, but now you've made yourselves a target and you've made it very clear in black and white terms who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. You made it too clear. That's the problem. Let's go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if we can get Onan up here on Zoom. Onan, where are you?
Hey, what's going on, brother Jason?
All right, Onan, what's on your mind?
All right. So you brought a point about the environment becoming more acceptable towards anti-racism and basically promoting white hostility towards black people and just basically allowing them that they want. And I think that's being facilitated through a lot of these non-white groups that come into the country and sympathetic towards people, or at least they have an affinity to identify with whiteness. And I just personally, because a lot of my interactions with Latinos and Dominicans in specific, for a time I used to live in Washington Heights, on 156 in Amsterdam Avenue. And a lot of the Dominican stores that I went to, I noticed that they treated the Black people, specifically foundational Black Americans, they treated them much differently from the white patrons, the few white patrons that came in to patronize the business. And I noticed this also with certain Asian businesses, certain Asian grocery stores. Just from my observation, they tend to be more nicer, I guess, towards white people. I guess it's a subconscious thing, but they try to curry the favor of white people. Whereas with the Black customers, they tend to ignore or be a little slower with their customer service. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I just want them to be blatant.
Right.
My whole thing is I just want them to be blatant. I've said this now going on 2 decades. I want full-flavored white supremacy. I don't want them hiding because too many folk want plausible deniability. They want the ability to say, oh, that's not what y'all think it is. Remember 5 years ago, you had niggas sitting up here arguing us about the virtues of Joe Biden. So you have too many folk who want to argue against the reality and appease it. I want them blatant. I want it to be undeniable. I want the white supremacists right where they are right now. They are so blatant. They are so over the top. They're sitting up here saying everything. They're not trying to be tactful. They're not trying to be any of that. And please understand, the last time they did that, take a look at the backlash. You can't pretend that white supremacy isn't alive and well anymore. That's the whole point. The great thing about having Donald Trump in the White House and the rest of these folk here is because they're so desperate to institute Jim Crow white supremacy again that you're ripping the cover off of it. You're not giving yourself the ability to say we're not racist. You're not giving yourself that ability. Basically, here's the problem with their psychology, people, in case you're wondering what it is. They're telling themselves that they are going to turn back the 20th century in 4 calendar years. That's what they're thinking.
Nigga, what?
But it's true. They think that Donald Trump's election is going to give them the ability to turn back the 20th century in 4 calendar years. And truth be told, they've only got about a year and a half, and they're already gridlocked in the courts. And all you're really doing is trolling to an epic level, but you're not actually changing any of the institutional hardware. Furthermore, you're going to lose that ability here very shortly. The executive branch can only do so much. When the Republicans lose Congress, that's going to be the end of that. So what you really would have done is squandered it. Now, here would have been the smarter thing to do. Now, they're not smart, they're white supremacists, which means they're childish and infantile, and they don't think logically or strategically. But if they were, what they would have done was they would not be talking to Benny Johnson, who's not going to change anything. He's preaching to the white supremacist choir. They would have been speaking to us. They would have been speaking to us to see if they can work out this deal, to see if they can work out an inroads to get more of us to support them. That's what they should be using this time to do. When they've got the ability to really make some prominent things happen, they would be using this as their time to say, this is what we've done for you. Instead, all they're going to be able to do is talk about this is what we've done to you, which is exactly what I want. But they squandered their opportunity for a bunch of symbolic troll gestures that are going to get turned right back around again. Because you can only keep this going as long as he's in the White House, and even to the extent you can get the DOJ to help you. But as far as legislation, the courts are stopping you on the one hand, and all you're really doing is venting. So this is kind of like what the civil rights generation did. They just want to be seen. The white supremacists want to be seen. They want to be acknowledged. That's not power. Power is unseen. Power doesn't have to be acknowledged, and it's unseen. By being so blatant, you have lit up all the targets. You've given us absolute evidence that you're white supremacists. Everything is recorded. You can't walk it backwards. You can't deny you said it. You can't claim you didn't do it. And when the tides go back the other way, and they will very soon, you're just going to be stuck out there with a bunch of cringy material. Only next time there's going to be a backlash. People are going to get deplatformed all over the place. And they're going to be yelling and screaming about it. But this is what you did with your opportunity. Just give us all the ammunition we needed. And this was important, brother. We needed to have this. Folks, I know it's been annoying. I know it's aggravating to watch these things occur. But remember what I said. We have to be like the feds. We have to let these people give us all the evidence. And we have to let them keep talking so that stockpile of evidence becomes an insurmountable mountain. And when we do prosecute them, it's not going to be one infraction that we go after them for. It's going to be a parade of infractions. There won't be any talking this backwards and walking this backwards. It ain't going to happen. And we all know it.
No. You make an interesting point that I agree with, and I've heard other people within the new black media speak on it, such as Rick Nasheed, where you say that you want your white supremacist out in the open, so you're better able to readily identify who it is that says what they say, right? There's no hemming and hawing, there's no double speak. You're just able to put a label on the person who said it, and they identify who they are and where they stand, rather than using code language. Like I think of the Republican strategist Lee Atwater.
You have to be more. You have to be more abstract with it. You can't be so blatant. You have to be more abstract.
Right. You couldn't just get these Republican rallies and just scream nigger, nigger, nigger all the time. You had to use code words like urban or inner city, right? It was like this dog whistle that ostensibly it talked about everybody, but to the people that it was directed to, they got what the message actually meant. They got what was meant by that.
But it's more important than that. Yes, when these white supremacists make these racist comments, yes, it highlights the person saying it. It also highlights the people who are silent, the people that they talked to, that they gave a pass to it. Looking at you, Pierce Morgan. All the folk talking about, well, let's have a conversation. Looking at you, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. All the folk who tried to re-platform Nick Fuentes. And by the way, that's already, just like I predicted, that's already going south. Already, he's begging Patrick Bet-David to let him on. It's already imploding. Like, dude, you're not even going to get 15 minutes of fame. You're going to get like 9.5. And that was it. So much for that resurrection. It's important to let these guys speak so you can monitor. Think about it this way, dude. And folks, this is a saying y'all need to be familiar with. When somebody is verbally attacking you, especially in the company of your friends, don't look at him. Look at all the people around you. Look who's smiling. Look who's quiet. Look who's covering their faces. When somebody is attacking you, don't look at the assailant. Look at everybody around you. Look at everybody, all these folk around you, and see who's defending you, and then see who's sitting there with a little smirk on their faces, with a smile on their faces, or they're sitting there quiet, and they're not saying anything. They're letting you know they're on his side too. They're just not bold as he is. But oh yeah, this is how he helps you not to identify the white supremacists, but to identify the white supremacist sympathizers. And that's what we got to look for. The reason why we ejected the Congressional Black Caucus is because, oh, you're the white supremacist sympathizers. Yeah, Joe Biden's white supremacist, but you're the sympathizers with him. You're the one sitting there quiet at best or sitting there smirking at worst. So when folks attack you, watch the people around you, see how they respond. And I'm doing that too. I'm checking for everybody who gets near these white supremacists and they're not saying the right things or they're not taking them to task. I'm like, okay, you being a little too soft with them. Okay, you tipped your hand. He showed his cards, but you tipping your hand too.
All right.
And I do my program so that you all have a ready source that you can go back and reference so you can see everybody and who it was and what they did. You don't got to go searching for it. It's right there.
Right. It's like your page is like it's a stockpile of information as far as what people have said and actually where they stand. So if ever they try to refute or dismiss certain claims, you're able to just use your page as a reference.
Oh, they're going to try to do it. I need y'all to understand. They are going to try to do it. The Tim Pools and the Matt Walshes, they are not going to stand by their words. They got emotional and temperamental, and when you get emotional, you lose. Brother, they're not going to be here in 4 years defending Shiloh Hendricks. They're not going to be here in 4 years talking what they're talking now about what's wrong with calling folks nigger. They're not going to be doing that in 4 years. You know that. They will not be doing that. They're going to go back. They're going to try to remove their videos. That's why I went ahead and recorded it and showed y'all what they said. Oh, you ain't walking this backwards. Oh, no, it's out there. You will not get away from this. You're not going to say this stuff now and hide your hands later. No, you won't. It's going to be right there in front of you, and it'll be preserved. But no, don't expect them to stand by this. They don't. They never do. They're going to go back into hiding. They're going to get quiet. When the tide turns against them, they're going to be looking for the next Trump. Fortunately, there won't be one. And that's what it's going to be. Yeah. But the advantage that we have is that they are being so blatant, so over the top, that they're so damn reckless that they don't even realize, hey, y'all need to be doing this behind the scenes. What do they win by breaking the Cracker Barrel? I mean, when you really think about it in substantive, tangible terms, what do they win? What do you win for doing that? Well, this will send a signal to the others of what? That lunch has been canceled? What do you win by doing this? They've become so pathetic that stopping a logo change now qualifies as a win. Okay, they kept their logo the same. This is how low the mighty European white supremacist empire has fallen. We're now defining trolling a restaurant as a win. This is a win now. They didn't pay you any money, not going to give you anything. This is a win. Brother, do you realize how bad things have gotten if that's what qualifies as a win?
Yeah. I think this is going to be my last statement, and I'll land my plane. But I think it's an attempt by the dominant society, white people in particular, to try to draw some type of sympathy, the same way the whole controversy with the removing of Aunt Jemima or Uncle Ben or the Native American lady from the Atlanta Lakes. It's to try to draw some type of similarity between the removal of those ethnic images from those commercials and those products in order to garner some type of sympathy. And then when that sympathy fails to show up, they could just kind of use that as, oh, well, see, this is a form of anti-white racism. It's like, when it's something that affects a white person, it's like nobody cares or everybody just makes fun of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to claim it either which way. If they succeed, okay, we're powerful. If they don't, nobody cares about white people.
Right, which I think is pathetic. But I don't want to take up too much of your time, man, so I'll just land my plane there. Just be one, brother.
Thank you for giving us a call. Yeah, I mean, it's whine or win. The strategy now is whine or win. Win or whine. If they can troll you and get something to change, see, we win. Okay. And if it fails, we whine. This is how low they've fallen. They've fallen so pathetically low that now they are reduced to lying about car ads and basically threatening to boycott a restaurant. How are they any different from the civil rights generation? And as I pointed out to you before, the real fool in this situation is Cracker Barrel. They're catering to people who aren't even customers. What do you gain by listening to Benny the Bigot Johnson? He's not a customer. He doesn't shop there. He doesn't spend any money. He hasn't been there in decades, and he wouldn't go if you offered him or attempted to drag him by his feet. He wouldn't go. So what do you win by listening to this trolling non-customer? He's not a Cracker Barrel supporter. And I keep harping on this because I want you all to understand that across society, they'll try this with you too. You don't have to listen to folks who are not your base and not your customers. They're not helping you to win, and they're not going to come support you if you lose. They want you to believe that their opinions carry far more weight than they do. Notice when that clown was naming off all those companies, he didn't name a single company that's gone out of business. Not a single one of these companies has gone out of business. Bud Light is still in business. As a matter of fact, what was that, Quavo or whatever was the other light beer that took over when their sales went down? Well, they own those too. It's all the same parent company. That didn't hurt anything. Bud Light, still there. Target, still there. Harley Davidson, still there. Tractor Supply, still there. Still there. And they'd have you believe they're doing big things. They need you to believe that because they have taken so many damn self-inflicted L's lately. They needed a win from somewhere. They needed somebody to give them a win because they damn sure don't have one. So they want you to believe that they're making a whole lot more here happen than they actually are because they're hoping that they can hang their hat on something else. Change this damn story. Change this damn narrative, please. Give us something. By the way, one more thing. Remember the little Ku Klux Klan, old Starbucks, who was trying to tell you how influential they were? Remember this gold-plated jackass? Remember what he said about Tractor Supply? Oh, he had Tractor Supply on their knees, didn't he? Oh, Tractor Supply was on their knees. By the way, folks, here's Tractor Supply's stock.
What? Damn!
Take a look in 2024. August of 2024, they were at $37.56. Now they're at $61.76. White supremacists are liars. They're complete liars. They're Joseph Goebbels without the nice suits. Tractor Supply is doing fine. Notice that nobody goes back. I want you all to take this going forward here. I'm doing this because I want to put this in stark contrast. So many of you see white supremacists saying things you haven't seen them online. And for those of you, if you have an opportunity to be in a room where you're on the panel and with these folk here, all you got to do is tell them to show their proof. And if they want to talk about stocks, all you got to do is check the stock record. I'm showing you what you need to do it. You don't have to think it through. You don't have to come up with a strategy. Just replicate what I did. He claimed he knocked these folks on their asses, and I'm showing you. Last October, they were at $37. Now they're at 61. Where was your win again? Where was your win again? So they troll these people. They look for companies that their stocks may be vulnerable to a small shift in the market. They get it to shift, and then they claim, we hurt the company, they had to change for us. And no, everything is symbolic here. This is how weak it's gotten. So for those of you, when you watch these shows, or if you're on one of these panels, don't try to do the back and forth thing. Just stick to the data. Stick to the numbers. 9 chances out of 10, they're lying. 90% of the time, all you got to do is tell them, be specific. If they say something, tell them name a name. And if they do, all you got to do is check the data on it. You're probably going to see that they're lying. There's a reason that they're hiding out. There's a reason why they only go to outlets that are sympathetic to them, Piers Morgan. There's a reason why they avoid other places there, because, this is how weak and fragile the position really is. This is how weak it really is. Now, last week, how many of you were aware of this? Now, I got to be honest with you here. It was after last week I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and get the data on this. Let me go ahead and get the real numbers on this. Because anybody who's walked into a Cracker Barrel can see the average age of their customers. All right, but are you prepared for this next part? Can you actually prove that that's their demographics? Yep. And can you prove that it's bad for business? Yep. I sure can. I can show you that if you listen to the bigots, you'll go out of business. Listen to a bigot, go out of business. Because he's not going to show up there. And of all the folks in the world to talk about being un-American, these are the first people to attack America. These are the first people. They spent the last 4 years downing America and talking about how bad it is and how awful it is. Ann Coulter, the U.S. is done. These are the folks who are at the Capitol building attacking the police that they also falsely claim they support. They don't support the police. They don't support America. They only support white supremacy. And even then, only for themselves. They don't, we already covered this last week, they don't even want to support white supremacy for other people. What? They only want white supremacy as an individual benefit. They don't even want to support it for other white people. They just want it to be a perk for themselves, but not for everybody. So please understand, the right-wing hate media is going to try to boost these things because they don't want anybody asking the questions you heard tonight. And they certainly don't want anybody looking at a stock graph, because then you have to ask these folk, hey, if things are going so great at Cracker Barrel, if you all hurt the stock price, then why is it the stock price has been going down now for 5 straight years? Was that you 5 years ago, or was that you 5 days ago? Which one was it? The stock price has been going down for 5 years, so was that you all along? Oh, it wasn't? Okay, then what the hell's going on here for the last 5 years? Because the customers haven't been complaining. The customers are not complaining, and yet the value is dropping. So it wasn't you who did it. The reason why we have to have a black media is because this is the side of the story that will not be told in other outlets. You can't expect the young Turks to say anything like this. You can't expect them to dissect this and debunk this, because quiet is kept. And they're hoping that black folk can get ahead, but not too far ahead. So these white supremacists are a necessary evil. Some folks say they're sitting right next to one. Ain't that right, Anna Kasparian?
Damn!
But in any case, folks, I'm letting you know they're weak. I'm letting you know they're weak. I'm letting you know that. Understand how weak they really are. Doing that for a reason. In the chat room, Rashad, I'm so glad you said that. So glad you said that. Rashad needs to give us a call up here on Zoom. Need to go ahead and give us a call up here on Zoom. We'll go ahead and do that. Waiting for Rashad. I want Rashad to go. I'm so glad you said that, Rashad. We're so great about that right there. Folks, look here. Just understand. Other folk will do it differently. Other folks will do it differently. No. We ready for this right here. See, on these white supremacist outlets, it's a one-way conversation. There's a reason that they do not allow themselves to be questioned, and they damn sure don't tell folk, hey, stop what you're doing. Call me up. Somebody says something, and then they demand, okay, I want to speak to you. Hey, front and center. There's a reason for it, folks. There's a reason for it. I got Zoom user up here. If it's, well, we'll see if it's Rashad or not. Don't be scared.
Yeah, it's me.
Okay, Rashad, can you go ahead and explain to everybody why you made that comment, sir? Please elucidate.
No, I was saying it's really supposed to be tractor supply. It's really blowing. I was agreeing with you. I was saying it's really blowing the Cracker Barrel out of the water. It's really a $300. It's really supposed to be a $300 stock, but they did that 5-to-1 stock split to let smaller investors get in. So if they didn't do that graph when you put that 300 stock next to the Cracker Barrel, it just blows it out of the water. So it's doing so. Just saying, Cracker Barrel is just doing really bad. That's all I was saying.
Good point. Good point. Now, for those of you who don't know how stock splits work, companies do that to increase liquidity. Apple has done stock splits. NVIDIA did a stock split just last year, 10-1, as a matter of fact. So stock splits are something that companies use. And while it appears that the stock's price has gone down, in reality, it's to increase liquidity. But bottom line is, companies do stock splits when the company's doing well.
Yes.
The bottom line is companies do a stock split when the company is doing well. Don't expect Starbucks, the dumb cluck, to sit up here and get interviewed on Fox to explain, by the way, if y'all hurt Tractor Supply so much, why are they doing a stock split? Because only companies that are only doing well. Now, if it were a reverse stock split, your company's in bad shape. If you see a reverse stock split being done where they consolidate stocks, the company's probably in financial trouble. But if a company is doing a stock split, the company's doing good. And notice, he didn't say that. He didn't say a word about that. Now, isn't that, and this is on Fox News, which lets you know they're not news. Brother, why in the world would Fox News put his video up there and nobody would ask him about the stock split?
That's a good question, because they don't want you to see how good it's created the illusion that the stock price is only like $60. You're like, hold on, wait, no, you got to tell it all. That's really like a $300 stock. That means that stock is doing damn good. You know what I mean? So yeah, if people don't understand the stock market, they're looking at if you put that stock right there, 59, that stock price next to Cracker Barrel, it doesn't look like it's doing that well. When you tell them, hey, but that company had a stock split, not a reverse stock split, because that'd mean the company's doing bad. But if you tell them that company had a stock split, 5-to-1, like, man, that changes everything.
It begs
You
the
know?
question. I thought y'all said they were doing bad. I thought y'all said y'all impacted their company. And I thought the way he was talking as if he had them on the verge of bankruptcy. And not a single one of the companies that they claim to have a beef with is in financial trouble or on the verge of bankruptcy. Could their profits be higher? Yeah, but that's true for every company. Every company's profits could be higher.
Also, Mr. Black, you could kill them with you just go to the financials, go to the income statement and check revenue. You just go to yahoofinance.com. It'll tell you exactly how much revenue, which I already did, to show you how much revenue Cracker Barrel is generating, and it'll show you how much revenue Tractor Supply is generating. Also, you just go to the balance sheet. And you can look at the total net worth of the company. The total net worth for that Cracker Barrel has been decreasing since 2021. You know, I haven't checked Tractor Supply, but I'm pretty sure if you check it, it'll show you that the net worth has been growing. So that when the net worth of a company is growing, at least we do I like the 10% mark. If it's growing by at least 10% in total assets, also if it's growing by 10% in revenue, and you go to price sales ratio, you can do all that stuff, but just to keep it simple, then that means the company is doing good, you know?
And
so
everybody had to get that education here.
Yes,
You're not going to get it on Fox Business. You're not going to get it on CNBC. You're not getting it on CNN. Why is it these other outlets did not drag these people on here to give an account of themselves and explain this? Anybody could debunk it, and yet nobody did. The whole reason that Cracker Barrel is able to afford to go around and do these renovations is because they got money. But if they don't make some things change, they're not going to be able to keep it. And it's one thing to have one down year. This is basic business school. One down year, and it's not a recession. That's why I showed you all the 5-year graph. When we take a look at your 5-year, that gives you a very clear indicator of where the enterprise is going. I don't care how good last year was. Over the last 5 years, this is going to tell me how you're doing as an enterprise. How is the business doing? One good year is not going to reverse a 5-year slide.
Yeah, that's the chart I like. Also, the 5-year. You know, I check the 5-year, the max from the date of inception, but the one I really check the most, like how the company been doing in the last 5 years. That'll tell you everything.
Oh, definitely. If you're looking at a stock and you haven't looked at, first of all, if you can look at the lifetime of the stock, that's best. But definitely 5, depending on how old the company is, because some of them I want to check a 10-year. But if you're not looking at, if all you're looking at is the 1 year, God help you if you're looking at 1 month. If that's all you're looking at is 1 year, you don't have any clue what this company's doing. You have no idea. 5 years gives you a far better idea of what they're doing as an ongoing concern and if they're heading in the right direction. If they've been in the slide for 5 years, now we got to ask some questions. This might not be the place you want to be unless you're short selling.
Yeah, buy a put option on it or short sell on it. That's, I look for companies like that as well. I buy put options on companies that's just doing bad. That's my insurance. I get to sell it for a higher price. Once it drops, I sell it for a higher price. Keeping it simple, So yeah. I was agreeing with that. I don't really disagree with you at all on anything. I haven't found anything yet that I disagree with you on.
I appreciate it, brother.
I got all your movies too. I got all your documentaries.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I want everybody to hear exactly what it is. Thank you for clarifying to them what the stock split is so they understand exactly what the issue really is.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Yeah, these people will sit up here and tell you all anything. They'll tell you anything. Please tell me why your favorite YouTubers didn't say anything. Why is it these other folk didn't point this out? Oh yeah, this is all a fraud. They didn't stop to point out that, by the way, it's all a fraud. Not only did they not hurt the companies are actually doing well, which is why they're trying to capitalize on how things are going now. They're trying to pull off a fraud. They're unhappy with some of the policies and practices going on at the companies. but you couldn't say the companies were not profitable. So let's see, we can't attack them for being unprofitable. So let's see if we can make a situation that we can call unprofitable and then tell everybody that all these company practices are the reason for it. So they made the stock price dip for over a weekend. They hit it at just the right time to hit it so it would go down for over a weekend. And then they claim, see, we told you. And it's not going to stop here, people. This is a war of misinformation. This is a war of falsehoods and misinformation. This is a war of get a lie out there and send that sucker running as far as you can before people disprove it. This is where we are. That's why it's more important than ever that we have more informed people than ever, because I'm just one person. But if I show you all that this is how you research these things and look into it, the next time you see something that looks similar to this, now you know what to look for to go disprove it. This is what makes the difference. But I'll reiterate again, where in the hell is the rest of your so-called, the old dead black media? Where the hell are they? Hell, where the hell are your black correspondents at these news outlets? Where the hell are they? I shouldn't have to be saying anything. These other folks should have been had that handled. CNBC should have been debunked this. So why aren't they? If I debunked it for all of you within a couple of minutes, how in the hell is it that such an outlet like CNBC couldn't do it? Why are they not bringing Benny Johnson on so they can discuss that with him? Why are they not doing that? And let him know, dude, this is basic stock market. You sound crazy as hell. You clearly don't know anything about it. This is basic fluctuation. This isn't you. And the companies that you said you affected before, how are they doing now? Clearly, you don't have much of an effect. But that would humiliate them in front of everybody. And that's not really what these outlets want. You see, the white supremacists like Benny Johnson serve a purpose to these people. And their purpose is to be the disposable cannon fodder. He can go out there, make an ass of himself, and when he finally does get completely disproven and destroyed, he's disposable. But they want him to push the falsehoods as far as they can. Unfortunately for Benny the Bigot, you all have got me. So with that being in mind, yeah, it was a rough week. But just recognize that they now believe that they're opening up a economic front. They think they've opened up a capitalism front, and that they're going to try to find businesses or entities that can be personalized or be given a personality. And that as a result, then they'll see if they can use that and weaponize it. With nobody telling the truth that right now, on its current trajectory, Cracker Barrel doesn't have a future. On their current trajectory, if Cracker Barrel simply sits and maintains where they are, they don't have a future. They don't have one. And the real issue these folks have is that if you do something they don't like and it succeeds, then they say, oh, damn. That's where they're at. In any case, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. Hope we've given you time to ponder on some things. If you were looking to turn the corner on it, you've had an opportunity to do so. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Arthur, Ronnie, Cameron, Rashad, Bobra, and everyone else here. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the haven of intelligent black thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. Click that red subscribe button, click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking, best-selling documentary work, blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program, live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.